So ways that we use statistics, statistical generalization is we're getting statistical evidence, right? We're getting data, we're getting information to make inferences based on that data. So if we were to use statistical evidence, we can come to certain statistical generalizations in sports in the way in which based on head injuries. They work very hard at changing a lot of the rules of the game to ensure that people aren't getting as hurt, right? So the statistics and the evidence of ways in which people are getting hit, how people are getting hit, changing these rules is actually a benefit to the players. I guess you could also say statistical generalizations based on certain statistical evidence could help you in gambling and how you're betting towards some of your players. And things like that. So think about how else you might be using statistical generalizations in sports. What about statistical generalizations in maybe politics and how we might read the maybe the political atmosphere that we're in? How might that help politicians to change what they do, or that might be a benefit to um, uh, people who are voting. I don't know how that might work. Like if you're a politician and you look at the amount of statistics of people within your area, based on that, how might you present more information? How might you help with passing of certain laws or fundings, right? So we look at statistical generalization based on the statistics of that kind of data. Maybe in healthcare systems, maybe statistics are showing that Ozempic is flying off the shelf, so we need to keep creating more types of things that are like Ozempic that maybe have, less potential harm for the future and long-term use, right? Like that's how we would use statistical evidence or statistics. What problems can occur with reporting statistical evidence? What kind of problems can occur when you report statistical evidence? The problem, unfortunately, is that often people don't include the fact that evidence is not proving something, it is only supporting. It is evidence that supports a theory. Evidence is not 100%. So the problem with reporting statistical evidence is it might not be wholly everything we need to know about something. When we think about the random samples, if someone's not pulling a true random sample from their target audience, when they're presenting statistical evidence, the problem is that they might not be representing the target population. So a problem with statistical evidence is not giving is it truly a part of the target population? Is that the information that people are giving? And that's what you really want to look for. The problems that occur with reporting statistical evidence, again, is not full transparency and letting people know that while this evidence does support this, it doesn't prove anything. Why is it helpful to look at multiple causes of a problem? Because again, while we might have some data that does support maybe the thing we were trying to state, it might not fully be exactly the issue. We could say so currently we know that there are multiple factors to autism, and things that maybe, you know, unfortunately, how do I say this? It doesn't necessarily cause it, but it doesn't help, if that makes any sense. So, say you are already a potential, maybe there's a baby that has the potential to have autism, and then there's other parts that cause it, but we don't know what it is. So if you were to only say that, only vaccines cause autism, the problem is then if you take all the vaccines out, but you're still seeing autism, well, the problem is you're just assuming that it is only the vaccines, but not looking at the other possible things that are causing it. So the problem is not when you're not looking at multiple causes of a problem and you're only assuming this because the evidence proves it. Well, the evidence is supporting maybe this, but it also is supporting other factors. So if we're not looking at the other factors to a problem, whether it's, heart disease or dementia or any of these things, if we only assume it's this one thing and not looking at other problems, What happens then is we stop doing the research and the problem persists, or maybe gets worse, or whatever the case might be. So when we're not looking at multiple causes of a problem, we might be missing the actual cause of the problem, whatever, again, obesity, heart disease, dementia, whatever the case may be. If we're only looking at one thing but not all, we're creating the problem of we're not finding the actual solution. In other words, we have to be really open to all possibilities. That being the case, looking at that, when we look at statistical evidence, the problem might be if we're looking at mail in or call in or text in surveys, why are they unreliable? Because when you're polling from a target audience, you're only polling from the target audience the type of people who would be willing to answer a text or a phone call. But the target audience, not all of them would do that. So you're not representing everyone. You're only representing the people who'd be willing to do that. And if you're like me, y'all, I don't answer the phone. I barely answer texts. I just don't. So I would not be represented in that survey, even though I'm a part of the target audience, because I'm not someone who would answer the phone. So the problem in these call in and mail in surveys is the reason why they're unreliable is because it's only the surveying those who would be willing to answer the phone. And then that becomes biased, right? So that's why those are not considered reliable sources. You need more things that account for all the peoples within that target audience. All right, whatever that might look like. So again, not very many people are willing to answer surveys or to be talked to or approached. So how would you get the information to really validate the information you're trying to get? So anyway, that's it for the last part. That's for that knowledge check assignment. The others are super easy. But I just wanted to give you a little bit more to kind of help guide you in those questions so that you understand what I'm looking for. All right, there you go.